folks, welcome to Koi TV. Here with me I have Olson. He's the Vice President of the Nikki Koi Club.
Yes.
Thank you, Diane,
yes.
so much for having us here. We had a great day. It was hot. But the good turnout was that the location where the Koi Club had hosted this Koi show, there was a pool for the kids to run around and jump in, and the swing set. For adults, there's lots of shade. It was a backyard of one of the Koi members. The rest is all to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, North Idaho Koi Keepers, along with the Inland Empire Water Garden Koi Society, came together for this first show. It's a one-day show where we bring our koi first thing in the morning, Saturday morning, and right now we're beginning to pack up and go home Saturday night. We've had a great time. We had two judges with us today, Michael Hernandez and Dick Benbow, and we pride ourselves in doing workshops with our club, meaning that it's koi study. We learn in our meetings and their workshops, as we call them, and so we did a workshop koi show, and we wanted to do a one-day show basically to try to get rid of all the effort and work that goes into putting on a big extravaganza and just keep it simple. And we've held it at John and Linda Seifert's backyard, and they are members of our clubs. And through their hard work and efforts, and along with several of the members, we were able to put on, I think, a very nice show with some really nice fish.
Hi, do you know how many fish was entered?
I believe we had 49 koi.
And this is the first one. How do you feel? How did it go?
When we first started talking about this, we coined the phrase fun meter. And all that really means is if we're going to do a show, and if we're all having fun, then I think it's a success. And if we're not having fun, then it's not something we want to do. And I would say right now everybody just had a great time. So
Good.
It was a lot of fun.
Would you do it next year?
We haven't talked about next year yet. Possibly. We'll just wait and see.
Exactly. And this judging was totally different from all the judging that we have been to. My husband and I, we were just talking about that.
Okay.
And whose theme was this? Whose idea was this?
Well, again, we are doing what we call a workshop koi show. And basically what we wanted the judges to do was, as they were judging, they would talk as if they were talking to one another, and then they would talk to those that were around these tanks, which, believe me or not, everybody was around the tanks.
Everybody was around there.
And
exactly.
There was great communication. The judges talked about the pros and cons of the koi that they were looking at. It was very educational. I learned some things. Everybody else learned a lot. So the whole concept, again, is a workshop. We want to involve everybody into these koi shows so that they learn. That's the whole idea.
It was a great idea, folks, and it turned out pretty nice. It was, even though the weather turned out beautiful, but a little bit too hot for us, but as long as the kois were okay, we're all okay. The kids are okay, everybody's okay, kois are okay, water temperature okay, water chemicals okay, everything okay?
Everything was wonderful. We have a water flow through system,
yes.
So that the temperature, even though it was very hot today, up in the high 90s, the temperature in the tank stayed within about 2 degrees of morning until the end of the show.
Right.
So it was really very successful all the way around.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dan.
Well, thank you for coming thank you for coming and joining us. We appreciate it.
We appreciate you inviting us.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gene Anderson, and this interview is for Koi TV. And what I'd like to talk about is how our koi show that we had yesterday in Spokane at the home of John and Linda Seifert, my personal opinion as to how I viewed it as the way it went, and how thankful that we had that show. To begin with, The North Idaho Koi Keepers and the Inland Empire Water Garden and Koi Society joined together, and we provided our first annual show. And I say annual reluctantly because we decided that we would take and create what we call a fun meter. And if it kept 50% and above on the fun side, we would probably do another one. But it's not really a koi show per se as what we know typically of a koi show. It was one of North Idaho Koi Keepers workshops. And the workshop couldn't have been pulled off, or the koi show if you want to call it that, because we did have judges. And talking about judges, I'm very appreciative of the two gentlemen that helped out with our judging, Michael Ramirez and Dick Bembo. I'd like to thank both of them very much for coming at on their own time, their own expense, to help us have a workshop koi show that was really very beneficial to all of those in attendance. We had a number of people that commented as to it's a different format, but it's probably one of the first koi shows that we've ever walked away from gaining as much information and insight as to what the judges are looking at and viewing in the fish, but also talking about the fish themselves. Talking about judges, I'm very appreciative of the two gentlemen that helped out with our judging, Michael Ramirez and Dick Bembo. I'd like to thank both of them very much for coming at on their own time, their own expense, to help us have a workshop koi show that was really very beneficial to all of those in attendance. We had a number of people that commented as to it's a different format, but it's probably one of the first koi shows that we've ever walked away from gaining as much information and insight as to what the judges are looking at and viewing in the fish, but also talking about the fish themselves. John and Linda Seifert put an awful lot of work into this, and I'd like to thank them. And I would also like to speak on behalf of Diana Lynn Wren, who is the president of the Inland Empire Water Garden and Koi Society. We both appreciated all of the efforts by all of the individuals. Koi TV was there, our guest judges, and both club members were there in attendance, not only during the show, but before and after the show, setting up the show and then tearing the show down. And none of that could have been possible if it hadn't been for the help of everybody that was involved. Now the show, as far as our expectations, it far exceeded, I think, what we basically expected. Not only from what we learned from the show, but the attendees, the participation. We had 46 fish in the backyard show, and overheard from one of the judges saying that the quality of the fish here in a backyard show is far superior as to what you might even see in a regular koi show. And that made, I think, most of us koi keepers feel quite good about. But in addition to that, the educational process was one of the key factors was for having the show, and that was all those present members showing the fish, as well as those who were not showing fish, had an opportunity to be able to learn more about the hobby as far as selecting a koi, a quality koi, what to look for in a koi when selecting a koi. Not so much when you're buying a koi as far as whether it's a Sanki or a Showa or a Kohaku or one of the other variety of fish, but little things that person, when they're looking at the body composition, might overlook the fact that it only has one barbel, or the deformity of the mouth or a fin or something like that. There was a lot of good tips brought out during the koi show, and we appreciated that from the judges' standpoint, but it was also an educational process. The other intent of the show was to provide a format that wasn't expensive in putting a koi show on. And what we found is that we were able to put a show on with very little cost, if any at all, to the coffers of either one of the clubs. And yet still have a koi show, still have judges, still have awards and gifts, and grant you we didn't have the sterling cups and so forth, but you know, you've only got so much shelf room to put trophies on, and the fact that you walk away from the show knowing that you've done a good job in raising the koi from a husbandry standpoint, but also during the selection process, because a lot of these, when bought, are not a finished fish, they're a category. And some of them are even, you know, small enough that you probably wouldn't even call it a category at that point. But it's a selection process, the husbandry and the learning skills in the koi hobby. And that was one of the things that the North Idaho koi keepers have always concentrated on. And instead of having a meeting, we call it a workshop. And this was an extension of a workshop by having a koi show jointly with the Inland Empire Water Garden and Koi Society. So as president of the North Idaho Koi Keepers, I'd like to not only thank all those who participated, but also the Inland Empire Water Garden and Koi Society, who has the tanks, and we were able to put on a show that was beneficial for all of those that were in attendance. And again, thank you.